For this lesson, we're going to kind of describe your spot, then we're going to get some references, and then we're going to sketch it out. I'll be sketching digitally in Procreate for this lesson, but feel free to use whatever medium you feel most comfortable with. So before we can begin animating, make a list of everything that your favorite vacation spot or time reminds you of. So for mine, Las Vegas is kind of all bunch of things. So I wrote down all of the things that I remembered about my time at Las Vegas before I looked at reference photos. This is really important because you want to make sure you're writing down what you personally remember about your vacation, not what reference photos kind of makes your mind think you remember. I also sketched out a couple little ideas before I pulled any reference photos about generally what kind of shapes and things that Las Vegas reminds me of. Then I brought in some reference photos. So for this reference photo, it was kind of like a breakthrough moment. I knew that I wanted to show the strip, but I didn't really want to have like dashed lines, and I didn't want to draw a whole car. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to draw all these lines to show like the lights of the cars coming by. It's really, really important to keep your lines simple while you're sketching right now. If you're using a pencil, it might be tempting to shade, but make sure that you're trying to keep everything a single line weight. So for this project, as I've mentioned previously, we'll be creating a monoline design. And all that means is that all of the lines in the design are a single line weight. Now, this can be thick or thin lines depending on your design, but the general premise is that they're all the same thickness. So for my design, I kind of went with a medium line thickness just because I thought it worked best with the amount of detail I had in my design. While I'm sketching this out, I'm making sure that I'm keeping it loose. I'm using a couple guiding things on Procreate to help me out, but generally you don't want to go too crazy trying to make it clean. And honestly, my style is more illustrated, kids book, kids illustration look, so I kept it super simple regardless. But if you're super into clean, very crisp, sharp edges, 90 degrees, all that craziness, you can definitely do that in Adobe Illustrator in the next lesson. Check and see which way your design looks best. Just because mine's medium line weight doesn't mean that yours won't look better thick. Or if you have a lot of lines, it might even look better with thinner lines. Just see what works best for your design. Also, just a little tip, if your design happens to have a sign or some sort of text in it like mine, I recommend simplifying it down as much as you can. Just kind of get the general shapes of them, just because animating text is a whole nother beast, and if you have experience doing it, go ahead and put it in there, but the general principle of this design is how simple can we make everything while it's still representing a place and a feeling that we had in a moment of time. So for example, again, with these fountains, the Caesar's Palace fountains are actually crazy amounts of circles, but as you can see in my little sketches, I sketched kind of how they look to me, and that was just a little too much, so I simplified them so that way they still look like water, and maybe I'll even make them blue to signify water, but I'm not going all crazy doing all these crazy lines or trying to shade because I just want to get the feeling of the place, not so much all of the things that are actually happening in the place. So this is the final design I came up with. I'm super excited about it. So for mine, since I did it digitally, I just exported it, but if you did it on a piece of paper, you can either photograph it or scan it in. So now that we have an awesome design of our favorite vacation place, we're going to be bringing that into Illustrator so we can turn it into vector lines that will then be brought into After Effects. So let's go ahead and do that now.